Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're just going to wait about 4 more minutes until we hit 11 a.m. Pacific, and then we'll get started. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. We're going to wait a few more minutes until we hit 11 a.m. Pacific, and then we'll get started. But just a heads up, for everyone who's here early, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to include them via the Q&A panel. And then we'll leave time at the end for questions. All right, everyone, again, just a reminder, we'll wait just a couple more minutes to get started as more people join. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please add those to the Q&A panel, and then we'll leave time at the end to answer them. Also, thank you to everyone who requested content for the webinar. We really appreciate your contribution and helping make these webinars more useful for everyone. All right, so a few more people are still joining, but I think we're gonna get started here. So thank you so much to everyone who's joined today. This is the kickoff of our 2022 Drive Electric Earth Day training webinar series. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead and add them to the Q&A panel, and we'll leave time at the end to answer any questions. And another thank you to everyone who contributed ideas for this webinar. We really appreciate hearing from you and tailoring these webinars to be as useful as possible for your teams. All right. So today's presenters will be myself, Kylie Morgan. I manage the National Drive Electric Week and Drive Electric Earth Day programs at Plug-in America. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Elaine Borsett. Elaine?
Hi, everybody. Elaine Borsett. I'm president of the Electric Vehicle Association.
All right, thanks so much, Elaine. Okay, so a quick look at today's agenda. First, we'll talk a bit about what Drive Electric Earth Day is. We'll also talk about inclusive EV events, partnership ideas, as well as engaging dealerships and EV owners. And then we'll talk about some ideas and best practices for safe in-person events and online EV events. Finally, we'll look at some EV resources that you can share with your attendees, and we'll take all questions that are submitted at the end. Okay, so starting off, what is Drive Electric Earth Day? So DEED is an international campaign of online and safe in-person events. All the events are organized by local EV drivers or advocates. And we normally have about 100 events in more than 40 US states. National support is provided to all local events by the national organizers, which are Plug in America, the Electric Vehicle Association, and the Sierra Club. All right, next I'll pass it to Elaine for some FAQs.
Thanks, Kylie. So many of you on here know all about Drive Electric Earth Day, but for those that don't, Drive Electric Earth Day is actually the entire month of April. So any events that are going on in April can be added to the Drive Electric Earth Day website. And what type of vehicles should you showcase? Anything with a plug. So that's how I usually explain it to owners in our area. We welcome fully electric, battery electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids or PHEVs, e-bikes, e-scooters, e-buses, all of those are welcome. We actually have had inquiries from people with fuel cell vehicles. You know, technically they'll tell me that is an electric vehicle, but I just let them know that we focus on vehicles that have a plug. So all of those should be welcome at your event. And I usually recommend reach out if your police department or your utility has a fleet of electric vehicles. Often they're more than happy to bring a vehicle and or a rep to be at your event. And it just lets people see that more and more places are going all electric. And what support can you receive? This is the best thing about Drive Electric Earth Day for your event is that you can get the event kit at no cost. So be sure and sign up for the event kits when you get those notices, and you'll receive a banner, you'll receive printed material, you get press contacts. The website has all kinds of information about event planning, best practices, and more. And who can sponsor your event? Anybody can sponsor your event. It can be an automaker, a charging company, other organization. We've had a personal injury attorney in town that has talked to me about possibly sponsoring one of our events. So anybody that's interested in sponsoring your event, it's a good way to go because often you'll get funding that you can then use to either buy materials that you might need for your event or to promote that event. If you haven't used Facebook ads before, they're really, really simple to use. And you can literally put in a budget of $3 or a budget of $50, however much you want to spend. We had one of our city captains last year. She's one of the EV Association's chapter leaders. And they paid, I think it was about $1,000, but they got an electronic billboard at the entrance to a mall that they use to promote their event. So there's a lot of different things you can use that sponsorship money for. And is event insurance required? Not always. So unless your venue specifically asks for or requires that insurance, you typically don't need it. When you do need it, if you're part of an EV association chapter, you're always covered. And if you need a certificate of insurance, you can just reach out to membership at myeva.org, and we'll put you in touch with our insurance agent. And also DEED support has resources for event insurance if it is required. To register your event, it's really simple. Just go to the volunteer page, you input your name, your email, your location, and then just scroll down to the bottom of the page and you'll see register a new event. And then you just click that. It's really simple to go all through that and get that set up on the page. What's nice about that page is that now anybody from all over the country can see where your event is, all of the details about it. Volunteers can sign up on that page. Attendees can sign up on that page. You'll be able to send them notices, reminders, that type of thing. So it's a really, really useful way to register your event.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Elaine. And just to recover what Elaine talked about and provide a visual tool here. So if you want to register your event page or your event on the DEED website, you would first visit the volunteer page. And as Elaine mentioned, it'll ask for your name, email, and then location. And then once that list of nearby events pops up, you just scroll down to the bottom and hit that orange register to organize a new event button. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to access the admin features on your DEED event page. So the first and really important step to this process is logging into the website. When you're logged into the website and you view your event page, you can see special messages on there that won't be accessible when someone from the public views it. So first, you want to log in, and then if you go to your account page, you'll find links to all past and current event pages. So you can click the link to your current event page. And then once you're on your event page, you'll see a Manage Event button towards the top of the page. And that's how you access the Event Management Tools page. And there you can find all of the admin features, such as updating your event description and date and time. You can also email attendees and volunteers. And when event kits become available to order, this is where you would place your order. Also, a really important feature on this page is if you want to collect attendee email addresses, you have to set it up on the attendees tab that you see there on the lower right. In order to protect the privacy of our attendees, we don't automatically provide their email addresses to event organizers. We instead allow them to opt in to share their email with you. So to set up that opt-in process, you just have to set it up within the admin page. All right. So Drive Electric Earth Day, one important feature of the campaign is making sure that all events are welcoming. And so some things to consider for your event are to feature used EVs, and you can refer to Plug-in America's Used EV Buyer's Guide. Also, if you're able to feature alternative electric transportation like e-bikes, scooters, and buses, that's a great way to highlight the many ways there are to drive electric. Finally, also think about if your event is easily accessible via public transportation. And if you can, try to find a location that works well with that. You may also want to consider if people using wheelchairs and canes can easily navigate through your event space. And if you have enough volunteers, you can identify a volunteer who can check in with, and if requested, assist people with any vision, hearing, or mobility impairments. And then finally, if you're able to promote the event in languages other than English, or even have bilingual volunteers on staff, that's a great way to make your event space feel really welcoming and reach even more people about the benefits of driving electric.
All right. So partnership is a great way to have your event. If you've ever tried to do your own event, it's so much work. And a lot of times what I find is if you try to have an EV event, you tend to attract other EV owners. So what we found works best is to tag on to an existing vehicle. And Earth Day events are just optimum. It's a great venue because you have people that do have some interest in sustainability. And I know in the San Diego area, pretty much every little town, every suburb has their own Earth Day event or Earth Day fair. So we've tagged on to everything from the Balboa Park event, which has 60,000 people in attendance, to other neighborhood events where there may only be a few hundred. But all of those events are great places. And typically the event organizers love to have you there because cars are a draw. And so, and especially nowadays, electric vehicles are a huge draw. So check out all the different events in your area and tag onto those. We bring sustainability solutions, visual excitement. It's a match made in heaven. E-bikes are a great thing too. E-bikes, scooters, etc. And many of the e-bike stores are happy to participate. So they typically will have their own insurance. They'll bring the bikes, they'll bring helmets, that type of thing. And so it's an additional activity. And it's just, again, kind of brings a little more excitement to your event. So just be sure, keep safety in mind. So you want to require a helmet. It's not optional. Make sure that people are wearing the proper footwear, that type of thing. Ensure that there's no pedestrian or vehicle traffic in that test ride area. Have a small area that's just for kids. That's usually a good idea. And make sure that you have safety monitors. If you do offer rides for adults that are on the street, just be sure again that it's as safe as it can be, that there's not a lot of traffic in that area. And if there is, you might want to consider just finding a large parking lot area that you can kind of cordon off and have the e-bike test rides in that area. So dealerships are a great way to get a wide variety of vehicles to your event. As we all know, this is a very unusual time with the chip shortage and all of that. There are a lot of dealerships that honestly just don't have EVs in stock right now, or if they do, they're already promised to a customer, that type of thing. But check around your area, because I know in our area, VW dealers, for instance, most of them have sometimes 2 or 3 or even 4 of the ID4s that are dedicated test drive vehicles. And they'll often bring that vehicle to your event and at least do a display, possibly do some test drives, and they'll handle it all. Also, check on the plugstar.com website. This is where there are EV certified dealers. These are dealerships where the people have gone through Plugstar training. They're EV friendly. They know a little bit more than the average bear. So reach out to those dealerships and keep in mind, if maybe they can't bring a vehicle to your event, if you have developed a relationship or you find someone that's a very EV knowledgeable and very EV friendly, offer to take business cards to your event for them. That way you can at least encourage people to go to the dealership and take a test drive. Many dealerships I know in my area, VW and Tesla, all offer touchless test drives. So people, don't have to worry about staying safe. They sanitize the car in between each and every test drive. So it's a really good opportunity to kind of make things work for you. And for the dealership and the salesperson, you can point out to them that this is a great opportunity for them to reach more customers.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Elaine. Yeah, and just to add to that, a few tips that we've learned working with dealers at Plug in America is, in general, weekdays are better than weekends. Obviously, many of our events are going to be on the weekends, but if you have a weekday event, that could be a plus for you when recruiting dealerships. Also, towards the end of the month, many dealerships are trying to meet sales quotas. So if you can schedule your event, middle to the beginning of the month, that may work better for dealerships. All right, so with engaging EV owners, the Electric Vehicle Association is a great resource. They have many chapters around the US and even internationally with really active and enthusiastic EV owners. And then also Plug in America has many EV owner volunteers. So if you still need support, you can reach out to us and we can reach out to our volunteers on your behalf. Also, if you know of any Facebook or social media EV owner groups, that could be a great resource, as well as any local charging stations. That's more boots on the ground recruiting, but it works. If you have a local charging station, maybe put a flyer up about your event or even talk to some EV owners. And finally, your Deed event page is actually a really great resource for recruiting EV owners. And the reason for this is that so many organizations, including Plug in America, Sierra Club, and Electric Vehicle Association, are all, pushing our EV owner supporters to join a local Deed event. So the earlier you can put your event page, on the website, the more opportunities that you'll have to recruit EV owners. And then my last note on this is just that, thank you to all of our EV owners. The spirit of Drive Electric Earth Day is really creating a neighbor to neighbor non-sales environment where people can, where attendees can feel comfortable walking around and talking about what it's actually like to own an electric vehicle. So EV owners are a really crucial part of every event. If you're organizing a safe in-person event, here are some activity ideas. First, you can do EV test drives. Also, if you have a city fleet that has recently adopted an e-bus, they may be interested in featuring that. And if your city or even a local workplace has recently installed charging stations, you can work with them to do a ribbon cutting ceremony. And so for in-person events, we want to remind everyone to remember to ask your attendees and volunteers to wear masks and social distance. With outdoor in-person events, we may not require masks this year, but we'll release detailed requirements soon. And as always, be sure to check your local, state, and federal safety requirements and always follow those requirements.
All right. So best practices for your online EV events. Plug in America has a great Chevy Bolt test drive. So you don't even have to worry about creating that test drive video. It's there for you to use. I will mention that if you're using that on a Zoom meeting, make sure that when you go to share your screen that you click the two buttons that say, optimize for video and optimize your computer screen, I think. So that's really important. Otherwise, that video won't buffer properly. Charging station demonstrations are great. You could do a virtual happy hour. You could do a car meet where people have, their vehicle as their background. You can do EV mocktails. There's all kinds of cool recipes online. One of our favorites is the electric slide recipe, where it's just lemonade with a blue sugar rim. So, make it fun and make it interesting. Volunteer roles, you want to make sure that you have some tech support. And this can be just as simple as having multiple co-hosts so that you have multiple people that are helping you out. They're able to mute people if they need to. They can answer chat questions if need be, that type of thing. They have a copy of the presentation. So if for some reason your internet goes down, there's somebody else that can pop back up and take over. So it's also a great idea, host it on a live platform. It's so easy now to host it on Facebook or YouTube Live. for increased engagement. And then you can also post it to your YouTube channel afterwards. So these are all really, really easy, fun ways to do an online event. And then sponsorship benefits. If you plan to have event sponsors, remember that they find value from direct engagement with consumers, brand visibility, that type of thing. So to help meet those goals, you can allow their representative to provide a pre-recorded message and or feature their logo. Find ways to connect attendees directly to the sponsor via an opt-in process, such as a poll. Remember to respect your attendees' privacy, not to share their data unless they've agreed to. And then EV resources for attendees. Lots of resources. Plugstar.com has qualified electricians, purchase incentives, EV certified dealerships. You can browse the different EVs. The deed website just has all kinds of resources for city captains and for volunteers. And then the Electric Vehicle Association has lots of information too. We have lots of local EV owners who are happy to volunteer, and fact sheets. Also, if you're going to host an event, if you're an EV chapter, EV Association chapter, and actually even if you're not, if you want us to help promote your event on our national Facebook page, we're happy to do that. We have about 27,000 followers. And if you email membership@myev.org with your event, a little bit of information, and the day and time that you want it to post, we're happy to do that.
Awesome. All right. So next we'll look at questions. So after this webinar, if you have any questions, you can always email support@driveelectricearthday.org. If you have any questions specifically for the Electric Vehicle Association, their new email address is membership@myeva.org. And so I'm going to take a look at any questions that were submitted here. So first question, we have a large EV Day event in September. Can only events that are happening in the month of Earth Day be registered on the site? So that's a great question. We actually have a second campaign every year called National Drive Electric Week, and that happens every September. So if you visit driveelectricweek.org, you'll be able to register your event there. And that way we can support your September event. And also this question came up in our support inquiries a few weeks ago, but currently if your event falls outside of the month of April, the only way we can host it is on the driveelectricweek.org website. The Drive Electric Earth Day website can only host events that are happening in the month of April. All right, another question. The RSVP form says, let's see. Oh, so a question about the RSVP form that attendees see. Yeah, so if you have any requested updates to the RSVP form, especially for your local event, please definitely just email support@driveelectricearthday.org, and we can look into how that can be adjusted for your event. All right, so I'm going to go to the chat now. I think we have a few questions here. So great question. Do previous attendees and participants of past ENDU events receive an email about our local deed event? So we always email past attendees of the last year's campaign. So for DEED 2022, we'll email all of the DEED 2021 attendees and encourage them to attend local events. And then same for ENDU. For ENDU, National Drive Electric Week 2022, we'll email all of last year's National Drive Electric Week attendees, a few weeks before the event, and encourage them to RSVP for local events. And then another question, where can we find a liability waiver template? So again, I would just encourage you to email support@driveelectricearthday.org. Whenever you create your event page, we actually have an event planning guide that's available to volunteers. And if we do add a liability waiver template that's available to everyone on that page, you would see it on the event planning guide. So to access the event planning guide, where you can find lots of tips and best practices as well as templates, you would just log into the website, go to the account page, and then you'll see a link to it there. And then also we will be sending or posting a recording of this webinar as well as the slides onto that event planning guide. All right, another question. Oh, I think I already answered that one. Okay.
And Kylie, if I can just jump in real quick, one thing I forgot to mention is that the Google group for city captains, there have been some great ideas in there. And one of the city captains mentioned that they tagged on to an art show for their event, and that really helped draw a lot of non-EV people in. And I know one of our chapter leaders in Ohio did actually put together a classic car show and then showcased the EVs also. And so, get creative when you're thinking about doing your events and see what type of events are going on in your area. It doesn't have to be an Earth Day event.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the goal of these events is to reach, non-EV owners and talk to them about how great it is to drive electric. So anything you can do to attract gas vehicle owners is great. And another, point on that Google group, someone else posted, I believe it was the Drive Electric RVA chapter with the Electric Vehicle Association. But they mentioned that they're starting a neighbor to neighbor campaign where, EV owners can be connected to their neighbors and answer their questions. So just wanted to provide a shout out that sounds like a great program. And a quick note, if you do want to post anything to the Google group, please remember to post on the website as opposed to responding to any email notifications you receive. In order to moderate the group and make sure it is respectful and positive, we only allow posting on the actual website instead of via replying to an email. Oh, another question, how do we find the Google group? So if you have been an event organizer before, you may have already received an invitation to it, but it would have expired. So I would just say to email support and we can resend the invitation to join. It is a closed group specifically for Drive Electric Earth Day and National Drive Electric Week event organizers. Oh, and then we have a couple more questions and comments here. Let's see. Oh, this is awesome. So a North Carolina group is hosting an EV program at a North Carolina hockey game. That is awesome. Yeah, that's a great way to reach non-EV owners. Oh, and then another event is happening at a minor league baseball game. Also a great idea. Oh, and then a mention here about the a KY film is now available for free. Yeah, so there's a film about Kentucky's efforts to electrify, transportation, and in sort of a grassroots effort. So that film is free, and you can showcase it at your event, or even, at your online event as well. And then just looking at the chat here, seeing if we have any more questions. Oh, a question about how to register an event as a first-time person. So to register an event on the deed website, you would just go to the volunteer page, and then it will ask for your name, email, and location. And then you'll see a list of nearby events. So once you scroll down that list, at the bottom, you'll see a button to register a new event. And if you're registering an event for the first time, part of that form where you include your event details will also allow you to create an account on the website. All right. I'm going to check the Q&A panel. Oh, another question about how to find the Google Group webpage. So I'll send out a link to the Google Group webpage when I send the recording to everyone who registered, so that it's easy to find. I'll also make sure that it's on the event planning guide. But the way that I find the Google Group page is I'll just Google Groups, and then once I click that, it'll show all of the groups that are linked to my Google account, and one of those will be the Drive Electric City Captains group. But again, I'll definitely make sure that the link to that group is on the event planning guide, and maybe even include that in the next email blast so that it's more easily accessible. All right, well, I think that's it for today. I know it was a short webinar, but definitely email us if you have any other questions. And we also have 2 other webinars coming up. The second is next Friday, and it'll cover organizing safe EV test drives. So during that webinar, we'll really go in depth about how to set up a test drive route, how to set up the check-in process, including signing liability waivers and other resources. And then we'll also talk about doing test drives for e-bikes and e-scooters. So similar to what we talked about here, but we'll go into a bit more detail in next Friday's webinar. And then the Friday after next, on February 11th, we'll cover tips for publicizing your event to the media and using paid social media. All right, Elaine, any last few comments to add before we go?
No, it was great being here. Thank you so much, Kylie, for putting this together.
No problem. All right, well, thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you next week.